Hi everyone, I'm Joe. Today it's time for me to do my monthly reading wrap up for August 2023. August was a good reading month. I read 3 books by 3 authors in just one genre. But before I get to talking about the books that I read, I will briefly mention the books that I am currently reading, of which there are 2 this time around. And the first of those is one that I mentioned last month because I am still reading it. It's taken me rather a while, and that is The Gene, written by Siddhartha Mukherjee. This is non-fiction. It is about genetics, unsurprisingly given the title, and it's not that I'm not enjoying it. It is just because it's non-fiction, it's about genetics. It's just taking me a lot longer to read because I'm not used to the subject that much, and specifically I'm not used to reading about it in book format. So it's taking me a while, but I will get there in time. And frankly, I'm going to try and make a bit of a push in September. So hopefully this won't just be merely currently reading. This will actually be one of the books that I've actually finished reading in my next monthly wrap up. And the second book that I am currently reading is one that people may be quite interested to know because, let's just say, the author in question, well, subject of the book is an author that people will know me for, and that is Patchett Alive with Footnotes, the autobiography of Patchett by his personal assistant Rob Wilkins. Now this I am currently almost exactly halfway, and indeed by the time that this video goes live I will probably be a good few more chapters into the book. I am buddy reading this with a really good friend of mine, Rachel, who happens to be my favourite human. So, and basically I'm really happy that I'm reading this and bouncing my thoughts backwards and forwards to Rachel, because we both obviously hold Patchett in very high regard. So, you know, bouncing ideas back and forwards and saying we didn't know about Patchett and his life is frankly fantastic, and we're both enjoying it immensely. I'll talk more once I finished it. I fell through. I might do a review, which would be unusual for me. I mean, I've never reviewed a biography before, but I feel as if it might be fitting to do a review of it, considering I've reviewed all 41 Discworld novels. So I'll debate that. I'm not sure yet. Interesting thought. So on to the books that I have actually read in August, and the first of those is The Secret People, written by John Wyndham. This was originally written in 1939, originally published I should say. It is a very slim novel. It is also a brand new novel to me. I only actually bought this about a week before I read it, so it hasn't been hanging around on my shelf wanting to be read for many years, and I would say it was interesting. I didn't love it. It wasn't my favourite book by Wyndham. I mean, I've read about 4 by now, so not a big selection of his books I've read, but I've read a few, and it's not my favourite, but it's not weak. It's not this is sort of golden era science fiction novel. Well, actually slightly before, really, you know, pre World War II, and it's an interesting one. The idea and concept behind this is that there is a guy on his new advanced jet plane, literally jet plane. He makes a big finger of it being some new design. He's flying this long range jet plane with his wife, and the plane crashes over a lake. They manage to survive. They get sucked down into a whirlpool in the middle of this lake, into a gigantic cave system, and it doesn't go well for them because there is a race of subhumans, as they see, down there, and other people that have also been stranded down there, and an adventure happens. Let's say, I'm not going into more detail because it's not a particularly long book. it doesn't take long to read, so I'd give away too much of the plot. But let's say the characters were interesting and done in a way that Wyndham normally manages. Yes, the female characters are sometimes a little bit, you know, like the damsel in distress, but they're not the overdone type though. There are certain books of the golden age of SF that are frankly really sexist and very much like, you know, the big manly man will save the, you know, the frail woman. This really isn't quite that, because actually the big manly man is not really that competent himself, and the woman's actually almost certainly comes across as more intelligent than he is. So it does come across well, and it manages to avoid that terrible, you know, sexist issue that books of this time had. And overall, I enjoyed it. Not my favourite Wyndham. Oh, and also it was the first book that Joan and Wyndham had got published. So I think you can tell the fact that this was a first novel by him, because the bits of it that doesn't have the same feel to it that the other couple of novels that I've read have. So it's an interesting one, and I'm glad I read it. The second book that I read in the month of August, when I actually picked up the word book, is Solaris, written by Stanislaw Lem. This was originally published in 1961. Solaris they made into a big Hollywood movie about 15 years ago now, with George Clooney, I believe it was, which I never watched. This is the book that that movie was based on, and it is quite simply a space station orbiting a planet. This planet, far away from Earth, has got some kind of like strange ocean on it. However, scientists have realised that this ocean is actually not exactly just an ocean, it's kind of a giant sentient brain essentially. So the station is there and they are trying to investigate it very slowly with a very small crew. The newest member, Calvin, he is on obviously a long range, you know, flight, you know, through space on his spaceship to get to the space station. He reaches it. He's not exactly greeted in a normal way, and that basically follows a certain trend. Nothing is what it seems on this space station. He thinks that they should be, you know, being very professional, and everybody's acting strange. Nobody's being what they should be, as far as he's concerned. You know, like these sort of strict professional scientists, you know, with curiosity and things. Everybody's acting odd, and there seems to be people there that shouldn't even be there. So there's something blowing it up. Obviously, this giant creature on the planet, this sort of giant, you know, consciousness, is of course related to it, and it's a slightly strange and unsettling novel with an interesting psychological leaning, you know, delving into the character's psyches, and it's one that I liked. This, it was interesting, weird, and it got to the point it didn't overstay its welcome. Lem knew where he wanted to take the plot of this, and he knew what he wanted to explore, and he didn't ramble on. I mean, it's a fairly slim novel. He didn't ramble, he got to the point, kept it precise, and overall I liked it actually, and I would recommend it. The third book that I read in August was The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, written by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This is some people might think of it as a sequel. It's more of a retelling or reimagining of The Island of Dr. Moreau, obviously by Wells, and this is one that I thought was interesting, but I wasn't actually a big fan of, because it is well written. The concept was, you know, solid enough, but I just don't think, it almost felt unnecessarily that it needed to be actually written in the first place. The Island of Dr. Moreau is obviously a doctor called Dr. Moreau on an island. He does weird experiments with animals, crossing them with people, and yeah, sort of like human animal hybrids, and things go wrong when the shipwrecked man turns up on the island. This is literally reusing the idea of Dr. Moreau. This time he's not on an isolated island, he's actually part of a jungle. His operation and his sort of overall setup is not quite as you know, widespread. It's very focused, and he has his daughter. Well, he claims it's his daughter, obviously from his first marriage, and you're always unsure about various things in the books. There's a little bit of intrigue, a little bit of mystery, not too much. And overall, though, I felt it didn't need to be written in some ways. It's just like, well, yes, there's this section that talked about a particular thing, which was talked about in the island of Dr. Moreau. The ethics of what he's doing was also discussed, but again, lightly and not in any real different way than the original, what it's based on. Nothing different happened in this that I would have expected. It was just a different setting, you know, different language used, but same concept. Which, I mean, it was, I was happy to read it, but there's nothing special about it. And I don't know, I wasn't filled by this one. This was a brand new purchase as well, and indeed the Lem was. All three of these books I read only in the same month that I actually read them, at the very start of August. And with that said, that is actually it for all of the books that I read in August. So if you have read any of these three, or the two currently reading, and you'd like to talk about them, or more information or whatever, then please leave a comment and we can have a talk about them. If you've got any book suggestions for me that you think I might like based on what I've read, again, please leave a comment and a suggestion, because I'm always happy to try out new books, new subgenre, that sort of thing. You know, trying to sort of expand my reading palette. All the books links to these will be found in the description box below, along with anything else that I've talked about, and all my social media. And with that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in order. Bye for now.